happy to sponsor this event, which we have for all these years. I'm Charley Wilkison, Executive Director of the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas. And before we get going with TMRS, who we invited to be here today, and we have a wonderful working relationship with TMRS that began with us protesting outside their offices over 30-something years ago. And so the rights of officers to have those side-by-sides of things that you expect, they come at a great price of activism, of suing, of staying in the court, of standing up when everybody wants you to sit down, going swimming up the stream against your administration, not being a lackey. I can say that in here. So it's hard times that got you to where you are today. And I want to stand up and talk to you a little bit because we're facing those times again. And I think if we depend on TMRS, who they're just doing their job when they tell you where you are, what your retirement's like, when you can jump out, how long you need. They're a state agency, and by statute, they can't even lobby the legislature. Only associations, individuals can do that. So I've been a registered lobbyist at Cleat. This is my 20th year. I was public affairs director at Cleat for the 20 years prior to that. Came out of the Capitol as I was recruited by the old guys that founded the organization. And so politics for the first 15 years prior to coming to Cleat. So I want to talk plainly about the pension. I want to talk to you, I want to tell you some truth. And this isn't about Cleat, this is about you. And then I'd like for you to go home regardless of where you're at and take some action. And it doesn't matter what association you're in or what state association you're in. None of that matters to me. Since we're sponsoring the event, I want to tell you a couple of things. 2005, I'm called in the governor's office. There's a list of police officers. And I said, what's this? Because we had just passed meet and confer. When I say we wrote the bill. I found the legislators, and we got the votes against a whole lot of people that didn't want to see it pass. And 614, which even if you're an at-will officer, gives you some right to a property right to your job. That's my bill too. 12 long years I pushed that around the Capitol. Nobody give me a time of day. Finally got the governor's signature on it. Dues checkoff passed that same year. Where your union association dues come out of your check. That was mine too. Cleat had tried that for many years. I tried it too. So we finally cut a political deal with the governor, and we got it done. I'm called in there, and they asked me, you know these people? So some of them I knew, some of them I didn't. I've been a civilian in your world, so a lot of officers' names weren't familiar. They were the people who had played golf out of the country on a pension systems dollar. And guess what? They were tracking their names. That's what difference does it make? If the pension system sent them there, their officers, they signed up, they had their department's release, they could do whatever they want. They said, that costs the taxpayers money. And we're very worried about the cost of retirements. Well, I didn't know. It was 2005, and the Koch brothers were already at it to wedge politics in this country, to create a haves and have-nots, to create, if you are on a pension system, retirement system, because of your courage, because of your license, because of your risk, because of the fact that you offer up your life on every violent shift, they were already wedging you because you had something that other people don't have. So the question was asked to me, do you know where this money is in all these pensions? Well, I had the same dinners with pension systems that lots of people do. So I knew something. But what do you mean, where's the money? It's open. Open records, you can see every single dollar they're investing. All that money is locked up, they told me. And it would be better if it was on the market. That's what this fight's about. So bigger than us. Such huge players that we get focused in on the guy at home. That arrogant city manager, that police chief, or somebody that tells us something we don't want to hear. And we get focused on the little guys when we're not thinking about the big picture. They want your money. They want it out of these systems, and they want to trade it on the market. The same way they'd like for regular folk to get rid of Social Security, and that's up to bigger people than me to talk about. But the fact is, that's what they want. They want to trade all that cash out there on the open market. My belief with the bill passed, the file last session, by a House member that'll now be in the Senate, it said if you were accused of any crime, you'd automatically lose your right to retire. All money would be stopped. I don't remember seeing anybody have the same heart attack I did. I fought that bill all up and down the line because that goes to the heart of us versus them. How many turds out there are going to file a charge on you, complain on you, claim that you violated a criminal act? It happens every day. So that'd be another way to scare the police and fix it so that defense attorneys, liberals, the far right libertarians, far right conservatives, all get married in the legislature, and it's a very ugly baby. So it's coming next session, and we'll fight it again. Cleat's view is that this is a property right of yours. You earn every dollar that you have put in that retirement. The city may have matched it. That was their duty. You know why they matched it? They matched it because they wanted to retain qualified police personnel, and this wouldn't be like a third world country. That's why. It's a recruitment tool. That retirement belongs to you. That's our worldview. We're not backing off an inch. There'll be deals cut, and there'll be bleeding, but none of it's going to happen with us. So regardless of your union, I'd ask you one thing. Keep your eye on the prize. Go back home. Talk to your city council. Any deputies in here? I was sure that defined benefits were going to be the attack point. I was sure that was going to be the place. And that was going to be the first line where the Koch brothers, the anti-pensioners, all those folks hit us with. It wasn't. TCDRS was the first bad bill filed last session to drop you from the guaranteed 8%, to drop you off that. And I consider you guys the lowest on the tree as far as retirements go. Counties, rule of 90, I can go on to all the reasons why I feel like, it's a harder job, harder to retire, harder to earn that retirement. But they went after that first, and then after the defined benefits. When TMRS gets up here to tell you the truth, they will, I promise you they will. When they get up here to tell you the truth about your retirement, remember this. When people tell you that retirement systems are broke, they never mention TMRS because it's the best funded in the country. They never talk about that because Texas, the most liberal person you ever met, will always ask you how much does it cost. In my experience, 20 years in the Capitol, that's true. They'll always want to know how much does it cost. So this is a state where we wear belt and suspenders. When we say conservative, physical conservative, Every one of us are fiscal conservatives. I have not met anyone that doesn't have an eye on the purse. So TMRS is the good example of everything that's right in retirement. And they can tell you some of that. TCDRS is too. They're funded completely. There's the only place where we have any deficits at all or in Austin and El Paso, and they're funded past the 70%. So when you talk about Chicago or Illinois at 19% funded, you talk about California at 27% funded and going bankrupt and all that. So don't let them scare you. So when you go home, talk to your mayor, talk to your city council member, talk to your county judge, talk to them about the fact that they can lose too, and they can lose a recruiting tool. Any of these things that happen, they serve to scare the public who believes already that you have something they don't. I call it pension envy. Whatever it is, remember this, their families don't sit by the phone the way your family does. In my 20 years at Cleat, I lost count of the people we've added to the wall. Complete count. I used to know how many people actually knew. I no longer know that. They're on boards, Cleat boards, are cops like you. They're on their local board, they're on our state board. And pretty soon, we're gonna run out of space on the front of that, and the names will go lower and higher. They don't deal with that. Their spouse doesn't wait for that phone call in the middle of the night. So we need to retreat when we're making our argument to that hill where your courage, your honor, your sacrifice, facing the violent cause, that's where we need to go. We need to fight our battle there. So I'd ask for your help. I don't care what you're a member of. If you won't do it for Cleat, do it for yourself. If you don't do it for yourself, and do it for your wife and your girlfriend. One of them's going to get the pension. It's supposed to be inside joke. If you will write to them, call them, stop right before they get a restraining order on you, I'd appreciate it very much. We'll take some questions if anybody has one. Then you can get to a guy who'll tell you when you can jump off and retire. Any questions?
You were saying on that bill, so if it passed, if you were convicted of any criminal offense, they could strip you of your retirement?
No, it didn't pass.
No, I mean, but if it did pass?
No, what if it did? Yes. Yeah. That would be the case. Now, you understand, they thought we were mad, but I was able to kill it in committee. We weren't even heated up yet compared to the way we were going to be. Years ago, an example is I got called down in the catacombs of the Capitol. There was a lady working in calendars, and she said, "Have you seen this bill?" And I looked at it, and it was almost identical to the one that was put forth last time. And this would have been 15 years ago. And I said, "Where'd this bill come from?" We looked; it never had a hearing. It never passed any committee, and yet it was on the calendar. If you don't think things like that, it's harder to do with a computer system that we have watching things, but it was nasty, and it was right there. And I'll never forget her. I need to find that lady and give her a plaque, because the only reason she caught it was her brother was an Alaska highway patrolman. And she just read the caption on the bill, and she said, "My goodness, I got to call Cleat." We got down there, and so the calendar's chair went in the other office and said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, I want that thing to go away. And she shut the door and put it in the shredder. And when she came up for re-election, you can bet the Cleat PAC was doing everything we could to get her re-elected. So these kinds of ideas have been around a long time. It's the wedge. Oh, if you got a pension, you're just a criminal. And if you got if you're accused, why would you have a problem with that? Why would you have a problem? Well, sure. 99.9% of you will never really be accused of anything. But the other 1%, you're going to put somebody in the back of the car, they're going to be a well-financed drug dealer, they're gonna come after you with a criminal defense attorney, and the first thing they're gonna do is accuse you of violating your civil rights, roughing them up. So that's where we are, and it's not gonna pass, but there'll be something, you know, like it. It's that whole concept, that purity deal, that they own your pension. And I'm here to tell you, our belief is that you own your pension. The day you raised your hand and took the risk, that's when you took ownership of it. And the equity is how long you stay in the job. And that's where I'm at. Other questions? Okay. No death like being talked to death, so I'm gonna leave.